Okay, so I finally got a little bit of enough time to get started on these damn 372s. Aaron, Randy, I am so sorry it has taken me so long to get on this. Going to Europe really screwed the pooch, and then being stuck there an extra week didn't help. But what we got going on here, this is the x-torq, right? This is the one, yep, we're good. I like that digital thing. So we are changing this over to the OE version of the 372, and we are upping the displacement by using a highway 52 millimeter cylinder. So that'll make this somewhere, it falls somewhere between 76 and 77 cc's, I think. It's like 76 and a half cc's, something. But I would guess, I don't know for sure, but I would guess that the 372 XP is the most modified saw that there is. It's very possible that the steel 440, 044, whatever, is more modified, or the 660 or something. I don't know, but this, in Bodie's world, you know, I don't really mess with steels much at all, and so this is what I see, and that's what I see videos about and everything. And so it's like they have just simply figured it out. All right, now everybody that watches videos on porting, if you haven't learned yet, you will soon learn that if you're wanting higher compression and you're wanting to mill the base of the cylinder or remove the base gasket or whatever, the number that you're aiming for, if you're wanting high compression for your squish band, right, is 20 thousandths. You don't want to really go any lower than that. Now, there are reasons to go 25 thousandths or 30 thousandths and stuff like that. But if you're wanting to get that squish band as small as possible, 20 thousandths is where you're at. Well, this being a aftermarket cylinder, I fully expected that I'd have to mill the base. With the base gasket there, I was at 31, 32 thousandths, which is damn skippy good. And then I went ahead and removed the base gasket and checked it out there. On the frickin' dot, 20 thousandths squish. So, and that's an aftermarket cylinder. The Husky cylinder, I guess you kind of, I think most people expect stuff like that, but I sure as hell didn't expect it from a highway cylinder. But I've got it all top dead centered, right? The gauges, or the digital gauge, whatever you want to call it, is working good. Oh, it turns off because I ramble. But, oh yeah, we're good. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to see real quick what the timing numbers are. Got my trusty flashy lightsy. We're at 74.4 on the intake. I haven't got my mind made up yet completely on where I want to go for the intake. But let me get my book. I got to write this down. Exhaust opens 105 and transfers. Now, not always, but a lot of times, especially on these bigger cylinders, when you've got a bigger bore, you can just look in through the spark plug hole and see where the transfers open. Like bam, right there they are. You can also shine that light in through the exhaust. That really helps. Yeah. Whoa. About 138 actually. So that is a lot of blowdown. So I'll study these, get to porting, see what we come up with. Okay, so it is the next day. And I'm all set up to start finding where I'm going to actually put, I'm marking out my timing numbers. Mapping, let's say. So what I do, so take my ring and put it down in there. All right. And I put my cylinder on. Piston's already at bottom dead center. Now that piston is going to straighten up that ring real nice. Bam. All right. Now the very first number that I mess with is going to be my transfers. Now, well, I've done my research here. I got two different guys, known good porters out there that are willing to share their numbers. So first off, all right, so Dyno Joe's numbers on just a good, sturdy work saw is 78 on the intake, 102 on the exhaust, 122 on the transfers. So he's got 20 degrees of blowdown, and he's got 156 intake duration, and with the exhaust, what is that number real quick? 102 is 204. So 156 on the exhaust duration as well. So then Aaron Lynch, he built one of these. It's a 76.45 cc, the big bore kit from Highway. He built one for Tasman, Kenny Fuller. And damn it if that thing don't run. I mean, man, it just looks great, right? And so he has the intake at 84. So that's high, man. That's a lot of fuel that he's letting in. 84 on the intake, which gives 168 degrees of duration, all right, for the intake. 102 on the exhaust, which is again right there, that's your 156 number. And then for the blowdown, he's got 22 degrees of blowdown. So using those two guys as numbers and what those builds did, I come up with my own set of numbers. This is how porting works, guys. Now, if I wanted to copy everybody's number, that'd be great. I mean, both of these guys are fantastic builders. We know that. Aaron Lynch, if you haven't seen his channel, check him out. Dyno Joe Mods, if you're watching my channel, I'm quite sure that you're watching his channel. He's got a bigger audience than I do. But anyways, they build good saws. If I wanted to just copy their numbers, I could. But this is a learning process for me. And what's really weird, and it's odd to say, this stuff takes time to learn and be really good at and everything. But at the same time, it's all pretty simple. It's not rocket science. And as long as you've got people who are willing to teach and guide you little bits here and there, you won't be doing their exact thing, because no two porters port the same. All right, even if you got the exact same numbers, it just doesn't work out that way. It's more of a dance than it is mathematic, solid numbers. It's the salsa, baby. We're dancing with this thing. I love two strokes. It's freaking ballet, getting things to flow and harmonize with each other. It's really cool. So what I came up with, because I was looking at Aaron's numbers, and the 84 on the intake, that scares me. I'm like, even though I see the saw is running great, I mean, it freaking flies, right? I'm like, I don't know, man. Because Taz, he's cutting almost nothing but softwood, Big cedars, big pines, big Doug firs, stuff like that. Well, this saw is going to a man down here in the south who I know cuts, he likes to pull a big long bar. Like, he's going to throw a 32 on this, guaranteed, maybe a 36. All right? So he wants torque. He wants that torque. And so since he wants the torque and is going to be digging on it hard because that's the way he likes to run, right? Then he won't have the higher RPMs that I feel is why Taz's saw is able to deal with the 84 intake. Now, I could be wrong on this, But I feel like his saw is going to be revving higher in the cut because he's cutting soft woods, and therefore it can handle the higher intake duration. So I'm going to drop that down. I'm going to aim for 80, which means I'll likely blow past it. I feel like everybody blows past their numbers, but maybe it's just me. So I'm going to aim for 80 on the intake, probably hit 81 or 82, and I'll be fine with that, right? But if I hit 80, great, golden. That's what I want. That's my goal. But even if I miss it, Dino Joe's doing 78, and his is running good. Those things are pulling good numbers, man. So, all right. For the exhaust, the saw for Taz is at 102 on the exhaust, and on Dino Joe's, he's at 102 on the exhaust as well. Again, this guy that I'm building for, Aaron, he likes running a long bar and wants compression. So I know that he's not going to be pulling high RPMs in the cut. So therefore, I'm choosing to aim for 104 on the exhaust. So the higher the exhaust number means the lower duration, and what that gives you is more compression on the top end. So we're going to aim for 104 on the exhaust. He'll be running a pop-up piston, and it's 20,000 squish. Should be freaking hellacious compression on this thing. Should be. But anyways, and then the transfers, I'm going to aim for 124, which will give me 20 degrees of blowdown, which is pretty consistent with what both Aaron and Joe were running on the builds of theirs that I saw. Aaron's running 22 degrees of blowdown, Joe's running 20. I'm going to go with 20. We'll see how it works. But what this video is about, actually, is how I find my numbers. So I've already got the cylinder on there, and inside there is a piston ring. My piston's set up to bottom dead center. My, oh, come on. I hate having to restart these things. I really do. There we go. So I start rotating as the saw rotates while holding the cylinder down, and I find my numbers. Like I said, the first number I'm going to come to is my transfer number, which will be 124. Ooh, I'm sitting there at 122 right now. So literally, I just dial it in. Being careful not to blow past it. Oh, I did blow past it. Damn it. So that's no big deal. As of right now, we can just pull this right back down. Now this big bore, man, it's got crazy transfer numbers from the factory. I mean, it's just absurd. It's like 138 on the transfers, which gives you like 33 degrees of blowdown. Like, damn, what were they thinking? All right, so let's try that again. We're going to dial it into 124. There we are, 124. Slide that cylinder off of there. Let me get my flashlight for you. All right. See? What I need to do now is I need to put a mark on there. And now we keep on going and we get to the exhaust roof. Now we want the exhaust roof set at 80. No, wait a minute, that's the intake. Sorry. Woo! 104 on the exhaust. All right, we're at 110. Bam! 104. Mark it up. Hardly anything has to come off of the exhaust because from the factory this thing was at 105. So barely have to remove anything there. Now the intake is a little bit different. The intake's a little bit harder to mark. But before we get started on that, let me show you the marks. So there we have it. I grind until those marks are gone. So, and then I'm free to do anything such as shapes. If I want to stagger the ports a little bit, I will. I like to stagger the ports, so I probably will stagger the transfer ports on this. I definitely think that it works. So now for the intake, like I said, the intake's a little bit different story. What I do with the intake is I mark the piston. If I can. It's not always possible. There it is, 80 degrees. All right. Now in marking the piston, a pencil is usually the better way to go because you got to reach down in there and get it. And I see my mark. I can see it. Let me see if I can get this in there. This one, you know, a lot of times, oh yeah, I can get it on that. With the Sharpie, so that's better. All right, now, what I can do now is I look at the piston. See that? Let me get you. So, I know that there's a small discrepancy between where this line ends and the cylinder intake floor begins. So I just try and keep that in my brain, you know? And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that much. I'll literally measure it out and I'll try and take that much off of the floor. Not quite that much, because it's been my experience, you take exactly that much, you blow past your numbers. So I won't take quite that much off of the floor of the intake. Now there is another option. I could cut this piston. I could cut the piston right here to get my numbers. And that would probably work good. However, ooh, lots of lights there. So yeah, that would probably work good, but I'm going to be porting the cylinder anyways. I don't want to throw that piston off balance. So we're going to take it off the floor of the cylinder a little bit at a time. And then I'll go back, because this one's important. This is a paying customer, right? That I'm going to do my damnedest to hit my numbers and try and get it spot on. So I'm going to go back and check multiple times while I'm actually doing this. Importing. Anyways, Stay tuned. Okay, so let's see if I can film a little bit of this. This is extremely difficult to do, and this is why very few people actually record the port work happening. See, typically I like to have this thing right here in my lap. All right, which I guess, whoop, hey, look at that. Woo, gotcha. So anyways, yeah, you can't see anything in there, and all it's going to do is hinder me and the job that I can do. So I'm going back to my lap. Maybe you can see something, maybe you can't. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I got the bulk of this side done. All right, I raised them up to the line, and then I widened that the rear one a little bit. And now to really get in there in shape, I've got this little teeny tiny guy right here. So yeah, that helps me get in there and shape it up the way that I want to. And yeah, moving right along. This right here, friends, is probably the #1 reason why homebrew porting, it just can't be as good. Because this tool, this little handpiece, this was almost $500. So you can do a lot, you know, you can do a lot at home if you've got a pretty well set up garage and stuff. But there are certain things that you absolutely need to spend money for this amazing tool, because getting to those transfers is possibly the most important aspect of this porting. You know, if you mess on this end and you mess on this end, well, you got to mess inside there as well. Anyways, all right, back to it. All right, take a look at this. This time I did the fine tuning work with my little teeny tiny little bit. I did the fine tuning work first. And so therefore you can see it's quite the dramatic little change. See that? Let me grab the phone. Do it like this. All right. So over here, we're ported up. We're hitting our lines, and it's good. All right, and you can see right there at the front, there's something different going on. Something different. There's a little dip right there. Okay, because you can even still see remnants of my line, but there, right there at the front, it goes over the line. Well, here I did that portion first. So now it's really a lot more dramatic. And this is the staggering that I'm talking about. I really like doing this because I definitely feel like it makes a difference. All right. So this, whenever I port this to this line, what I'm going to get is I'm going to get 124 degrees. Right. That's the top of this line. That's this line right here. Actually, it's the bottom of it from your angle. Well, this one, since it's going below it, is going to be more likely about 122. So that gives me 2 degrees of duration stagger between this and this, which means this comes on first. It comes on first and goes, and it pushes, and it gets that exhaust rolling out. You know, the spent gas is rolling out the exhaust. So it goes boom, and then the other ones kick on, boom, and shoves it out. Now, I am not expecting high RPM with this. So multiple stages of stagger, I don't know. It's not really necessary. I just don't think. But a little bit is good. A little bit will help get that flow out of there. It's important, though, I think, with multiple stages, or if you're pulling higher RPMs, you really want to get that exhaust out, and that really helps it. But this right here, I mean, this will pull good high RPMs anyways. And anyways, back to it. Just showing you as I go. Trying to. All right, I wanted to show you guys this real quick. I got, all over the place. I got one side of the bottom transfers where I want it, and I wanted to show you that. All right, on this side, you've got that skirt that's blocking your transfers, and there's just no use for that. There's just no reason for it whatsoever. So you just cut that out completely, right down to the base. All right, you just cut it all out of there. And you can see where I knife edged it down here, or at least came close to it, knife edging it. I opened it up a little bit, and I'll do the same one up here as well. I might actually go ahead and hit this some more and straighten that corner like that. But from what I'm seeing, the lowers look good. And so yeah, I'll do that, what I was saying, where I'll straighten that real quick. Get a little bit more volume there. But I wanted to show you how I cut this part out. Okay, that does it, y'all. That does it. I already put it on. I measured it out. I hit my numbers. Ooh, let me pause it. Okay, so for the intake, this right here, this is the highway cylinder, and this was really kind of oblonged. The stock one, this is Randy's. It's not as bad as the highway was, but it's still pretty bad. There's more meat, we're talking about this area right here, than there needs to be, and it also is inconsistent. So look, I mean, you can just tell. Anyways, so I fixed that and opened it up a good bit, widened it a little bit. I hit my number perfect. I'm on 80, right at 80 for my intake floor. I'm at 103 on my exhaust roof, and my transfers, honestly, I haven't measured them, but I hit the lines and I'm not as worried about them, because either way it goes, it is what it is. There's like no fixing that, but I'll check it before I put it back together, and in the video of it running, I'll give the real numbers of what it is. But yeah, it should be 20 degrees blow down, you know? So if we're at 103 over here, then we're at 123 here. With one of those coming on a little bit earlier right there, probably at about 121, 120. So anyways, looks good. I did cut these back a little bit further right here. Opened them up. Looks like I went a little too far on that one. It won't hurt anything, but it's just kind of useless. But yeah, there we go. So next up is going to be the 371 XP from Randy. This is the 372 x-torq that's getting turned into OE with a 52 millimeter cylinder. And yeah, there you have it. And I think that's probably good for this video. All right, and we'll see you on the next one later. Okay, so I realized that my video that I just did is at 29 minutes and like 30 seconds. And if I go over 30 minutes just a little bit, then that gives a third round, I believe it's a third round of commercials that I'm going to force you guys to sit through. Because, you know, I want to make more money. Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with that. And if you think there is, well, kiss off. Sorry, you know. I'm trying to make a little bit of, you know, pocket change on this channel. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. But so I was really happy with that saw. I think is going to fly. I think it's going to run good. Pull a big long bar for him. Be just what he wants. The other thing that I was wanting to... Oh, yeah. So I got to do Randy's next. Randy's will get the same treatment. The only difference that his is going to get that Aaron's doesn't really, in the port work at least, is... well, it's not even in the port work. He's already got a good piston and ring set up and everything, so I'm just going to reuse that. And so he will not have the pop-up piston. And of course, you know, Aaron's saw was the x-torq, and that got the new cylinder just because it's an x-torq. I'm not even dealing with those stupid x-torqs. They just don't put out the power that the original does. Not even, no, it's not worth it. Not whenever, if you're spending that kind of money, just buy a new cylinder and put it in. You know, $130, I think, is what that big bore kit cost, something like that. But anyways, so you get a piston to go with it, and get a little bit higher compression. Should be a good running saw. So I got to do Randy's tomorrow, which that'll be quick because I'm not going to film that. It's going to be the same thing as this one, times 1 over. And the difference and the reason why I'm not gonna film that, or boy, sorry guys, I'm not gonna film it, so therefore it'll go a lot quicker. The filming process takes a lot of time, you know, and I've already got the numbers set up, and I can just repeat the process on Randy's saw, and boom, it's done. And we'll see how much of a difference that big bore makes, you know, because they're going to be identically ported by the same guy, and we'll see what that big bore, what kind of difference it makes, along with the high compression piston. So there's that, and then after that, Steve, the guy who made the really cool axes for me, he sent me an 036 steel cylinder that I'm going to clean up and do a blind port on. So there will be a video on that. Hopefully I'll be able to get both of those done tomorrow, which means that I need to do the whack-off video today. All right, that's enough. See ya.